Our final interview at this year's Dark Reading News Desk will be with Michael Bargury, CTO of Zenity, who is here at Black Hat USA with a bit of news on Microsoft Copilot. Hello, Michael.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course, we're thrilled that you're here. So your research has been getting a lot of attention. Microsoft Copilot itself has been getting a lot of attention. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about why you decided to look at it and what you found.
Absolutely. I think AI is capturing all of our imaginations right now, and we all, we look at it and it's so amazing. I've changed my entire day-to-day work.
Really?
Bringing AI into the things that I do. But when you look at this technology, you also understand that it's very immature. And one of the things that's really cool or weird about Microsoft Copilot is how fast the largest enterprises in the world are adopting it. You look at a large bank, they're not the ones you're thinking about that are going to adopt things in 3 months after they were released. But this is happening with Microsoft Copilot, so this is what got me interested.
So tell me a little bit about how Microsoft Copilot functions within the enterprise and sort of why that businesses have been so quick to adopt.
So Microsoft Copilot is kind of trying to bring in all of the context that a business user has in their day-to-day work to really be a companion to them. So it has access to your email, to your calendar, to your Teams messages, all of your files. And actually, if you bring in plugins, it can actually work on your behalf. So it's the perfect tool for a business user to use AI in the context that they are already operating.
But that AI is sitting on a ton, I imagine, of very sensitive information. How protected is that?
That's exactly it. The thing that they have built there is that the AI basically inherits your own identity. It operates on your behalf, which means that it has access to everything you have access to, all of your emails, all of your files, every sensitive thing you ever written, even the things you write to yourself in your mailbox, AI can read that.
Wow. So what are the vulnerabilities that you were able to discover?
So the thing with AI is that there is no real distinction between data and instructions. What our research reveals is that basically by sending you an email, I can completely take over Copilot and use it to do whatever I want on your behalf. I can search for your sensitive files. I can get Copilot to tell you whatever I want Copilot to tell you. So I can have Copilot as a malicious insider luring you to my malicious website.
It's like automatic business email compromise or something.
Exactly, without a compromise. I only need to send you an email. That's basically the equivalent of an RCE in the Copilot world.
So tell me how this works.
So basically, Copilot is built on a pile of data, right? That's your data. Now, that data is not 100% trusted because if it's looking at your emails, I can send you an email. It's looking at your Teams messages, I can send you a Teams message. I can share a file, I can share a calendar invite. This automatically gets read by Copilot. And then that's a way in for an attacker to get their data in. So that's just...
Because it's being ingested.
Exactly. But that's just data. Now you need to escalate from data to instruction. And the thing about AI is that there's no clear distinction.
Say more about that. I don't completely understand what you mean by that.
So when AI gets to read your document, it just gets a bunch of text. And on the other side, when AI gets its instructions, how is Microsoft Copilot supposed to behave?
Got it.
That's also text. How does AI know? How does the LLM know what is text and what is instructions? What is data and what's instructions?
Got it.
It doesn't know that. So there are some things that that LLM providers have tried to do, things that are like system messages, but you can get around them. So basically what we've done is we've convinced Copilot that this is not just an email. This is part of its instructions. This is called jailbreaking. And people have been doing that over the internet. People are having fun getting these models to do things talk about things that they should not talk about or produce images they should not produce. We've taken that and shown that this can actually impact the enterprise today.
What has the reaction been?
So first of all, this has been a crazy week. I've never had such a reaction to a research. People are really excited, worried. I think one of the things that I think is really important for me to stress is that I think AI is really cool. I think
You're a user.
I am. We have to use AI. We don't have another option. But we need to understand. One of the analogies I'm trying to get to use here is that AI right now is like experimental drugs. Experimental drugs are important. There are clear use cases for that. But when you get into a clinical trial, you are doing a risk assessment, right? Using AI right now is getting into a clinical trial. And you need to do your own risk assessment. You need to
Right.
own your part.
That is really interesting because around so many discussions about AI this week, I have seen sort of this competition between the productivity and the security that is lost in using those productivity tools. How is that going to resolve itself? Will there be high-profile breaches? I mean, you said yourself, people are adopting Copilot, businesses are adopting Copilot. It does seem sort of like a perfect formula for disaster.
I think one of the things, so first of all, Microsoft has really tried. We've identified 10 different security mechanisms that they have implemented into Copilot to try and fend off these kind of attacks. And this is far more than what all of the other providers have done.
Good to know.
It's still not enough because this is an open attack vector. I think the number one thing we need to have right now as an industry is observability. We need to acknowledge the fact that we are learning as we're doing this. And so people need to be able to observe what these things are doing on their behalf. If the AI chooses to perform an operation on my behalf, read a file, I need to know exactly what it does. And I need to be able to monitor it. It needs to be open. And we need to be open about the kind of problems that we're finding. So everybody together as a community, both the people that are using this and the people that are building this, we need to understand the magnitude of our responsibility here and the risk. And we have to be transparent because otherwise, we're learning as we're doing this. As this is already deployed in large organizations, we are finding new attack vectors. We have to work together on this.
What is the smart way? What recommendations would you give enterprise teams who are looking at Copilot? Would you say, yes, go for it with a caveat? Would you say, hold off? What do you think about that?
So absolutely go for it, because there's no other way. Like, we work in security. We don't get to say no. We tried that doesn't work. So don't do it.
Good point.
What I think you should do is first understand that this is your risk to own. Don't just get something and say, oh, the vendor is going to fix it. It's not up to the vendor. Of course, it's also up to the vendor, but it's also up to you. The second thing that you need to do is you have to be monitoring those interactions. You have to find those cases where there's prompt injection happening, where the AI reads an email and then all of a sudden it goes and searches for sensitive data. Those things need to raise a flag somewhere. And you also need to understand that there's no free lunch. If AI gets access to important data, which is what you need for it to be important, to be useful, you create an attack vector. It's the same thing.
I'm interested in sort of your thoughts on, because these AI models need your data, they need your most intimate data really to work. Are we going to move from these large public language models to more specific, curated, trained AI models on specific things? That's
really an interesting question, and to be honest, I don't really know, because what we've focused on here is really like a lot of the industry has been focused on what are these models seeing? Like, is the LLM vendor going to get my data? And what I'm trying to show here in this research is that I think we're missing an entire category of risk that we haven't thought about, which is that it doesn't matter if the LLM is private or if it's public or if it's strong or weak or operates on your device. Once you give the LLM the ability to act on your behalf, this LLM can be tricked. This means that you give a hacker the ability to act on your behalf as well.
Let's talk about, just finally here, you talk about there is no free lunch, own your own risk. What does that mean specifically, and what should teams know about owning that risk?
So first of all, there are many configurations that you can have on the level of your tenant to try and restrict things down. So do you allow AI to search the web, for example? Do you allow AI to search for in all SharePoint sites or just the public ones? There are different choices you can make. And again, think about the risk-reward thing for those choices. And then when you look at extendability, like when you give AI the ability to actually send an email or change the CRM, this is where you need to be extra careful, and you need to understand, okay, who's getting access to this? What is the threat vector that could be happening here? And also monitor those conversations. Like, collect them, make sure they are logged, make sure you have detection in place to find when somebody is playing around, somebody is using it to fetch sensitive data, and where indirect prompt injection occurs, and all of a sudden you have an RC in your hand and like an attacker gets hold of somebody's identity.
Michael Bargury, thank you so much for joining us again this year and sharing your blockbuster research with us. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Great. Michael Bargury, CTO of Zenity.